Hello and welcome to Dressmaking Amore. Today we're going to be making a pleasantly easy, elevated version of a comfy sweater, making it the epitome of angelic dreaminess with its raglan sleeves widening into a whimsical bell shape, which is complemented by a sharp V neckline and finished off with pretty slits at the sides of the hem. I'm going to be using our new Angeline sweater PDF sewing pattern, and you can get yours at the link below in the description. Here are the materials that you'll need. I'm using this lusciously soft Hachi Knit fabric for the sweater, which gives it the softest and most comfortable feel. You'll need a stretch knit fabric with 5% elastane. This would be something like a French terry, Hachi sweater knit, or Rayon. Cut out the pattern pieces from your fabric. And make sure to transfer the marks to make it easier to sew in the process. And there are detailed instructions on exactly how to do this in your pattern booklet. Here we have the back, front, sleeve, and the neckband. Okay, let's get to sewing. The first thing we're going to do is take the front bodice piece with the V neckline and pin it with the sleeve. The sleeve has one mark to indicate the front, so place these two pieces wrong sides together, matching up the curved contour, and make sure to pin carefully, matching up the notches. Pin both sleeves like so. Then sew and press your raglan seam. Check that you like how everything's looking and sew the second seam. A good tip is to always pin at a safe distance from the edge so that the machine foot won't be in danger of sewing over the pins. But this method only works with knit fabrics and where you don't need to have absolute precise control of your fabric. I like pressing these seams towards the sleeve, but this depends on your preference. Now cool your fabric with a wooden tailor's clapper, or you can also use a rolled up towel here. Take your back bodice piece and pin the sleeves to it wrong sides together, just like we did on the front piece. This time make sure to pin the two notches together, as this indicates the back side of the sleeves. Then sew and press the raglan seam again, this time on the back side. I pressed it facing towards the sleeve here as well. Our next step is to sew the center seam of the neckband. Take your neckband, fold it in half, and pin to prevent the fabric from moving around, and sew. So starting with the corners, sewing to the center, then folding up the fabric so that you have a straight line here, and even out the rest, and here's how our pointed V looks like. If you use the serger, press the seam in opposite directions from the center to minimize bulk, otherwise you can simply press the seam. Then fold it in half, wrong sides together, marking the center of the neckband, and press carefully to flatten it out. Then we're going to shape the neckband with a beautiful inward rounded curve. The most important thing here is to form the curve at the center back. This step does require some patience, so centimeter by centimeter, create that curve by pressing and slightly stretching out the rest of the section of fabric. It's a good thing that our knit fabric is quite flexible and easy to work with. And now even out the edges of the corner. On the front bodice piece, apply interfacing to the corner point to stabilize it before we start to sew. Another method of stabilization is to stay stitch the V-point of the neckline on the bodice piece. And after this, make a 5mm clip that goes right to the point, just like so. Take the center of the neckband and lining up its raw edges of the right sides together with the front bodice, pin, making sure that the point of the seam on the corner of the V-point lays just below the V-clip of the front bodice. We'll sew it laying like this to the V-point and then flip the neckband around and sew the other side. Pin the rest of the neckband to the front all around, matching up the sides with the notches, evenly distributing the ease. Here's how our corner looks like. Here we cut this part 5mm along the width of the seam, so we'll now sew this from one side of the corner and then finish off to the other side. With the seam being 5mm wide, stitch 2 cm from the V-point and 2 cm after the point to secure it in place and have a beautiful corner. This is how our sewed corner should look like. Sew all around and you can finish off the ending thread just like so. Press your seam allowances towards the bodice to have them lay nice and flat and cool the fabric. Now flip to the back, smoothing out the seams, and press it flat here as well, maintaining our curve. Also, for easy indication of where the back and the front is of this top, I'll top stitch the back side 4mm from the folded edge. You can start either from behind or at the raglan seam, and sew catching the seam allowances underneath, finishing off at the other seam. And if you wish, you can also do this all around. Doing this will help secure our seam allowances in place. And here's our back side. Finish the raw edge of one part of the side slit, starting to sew down from the mark that's right above the slit. Then pin the side seams of the bodice and the sleeve together. If we sewed right away, we would have noticed that one edge of the sleeve is longer than the other and would end up stretching out the other edge to fit. What we need to do here is first pin and then cut off the excess to even out the sleeve. And sew the side seams along with our unfinished edge and press. On the machine, line up the two pieces of your slit together and sew around 4 cm up from the start of the angle of the slit and 2 cm down from that point. Just like this. And do the same to the other side. Now to finish off our slit, fold 2 cm of the seam allowances to the wrong sides, pin, and now press this to solidify the shape. Top stitch 2 cm from the edge of the slit, not stretching the fabric, but creating beautiful sharp corners. You can help yourself by drawing a line using a ruler for a sure straight seam. And repeat for the other slit. Lay out your top stitch slit and press. For the hem of my sweater here, I chose to very simply finish the edges with a narrow serger seam for an organic, natural look. Press it carefully to easily get rid of all the waviness. And in the same way, I finished the sleeves, so press here as well. You can always use a hemming technique that you prefer, for example folding up a few centimeters of the hem to the wrong side and using a twin needle to top stitch the sleeves and the sweater itself for a more classic finish. And giving your garment a finishing press like always, we are done with our dreamy Angeline sweater. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this inspires you to sew this sweater yourself. I know you'll love it. You can get the PDF downloadable sewing pattern that I used at the link in the description of this video, and happy sewing!